Ever feel like your content isn't good enough, even when you put so much effort into it? Well, in this video, I'm going to share with you a very unpopular opinion, but it will make your content so good that people can't ignore it. Because right now you're thinking that the amount of time it takes you to create a piece of content is what makes it valuable. And then you're taking the amount of time it takes you and equating that to how much effort you've put into your content, thinking that's what makes it valuable. Or maybe you're somebody who puts a lot of information into your content, but then when it doesn't get any engagement and people ignore it, you second guess and wonder, did you not put enough information into your piece of content? Or did you not put the right kind of information? Or maybe you're somebody right now who just keeps going back and forth on the best viral hook or the best title for your piece of content. Well, none of what you're thinking currently matters if you don't have in place what I'm about to share with you. Because let's be honest, it doesn't matter and you don't care if it took me 5 minutes, 1 hour, 3 hours, or 5 hours to outline this YouTube video. The only thing you're thinking about and the only thing your audience is going to be thinking about also is, does this solve a problem in my life? And will this help me get to a desired result or solution in my life? So let's actually dive into why your content is currently being ignored and what you can do about it so people don't ignore you. The first thing is you lack embodiment. Content is an expression of who you are, what you do, and who you serve. So to be an embodiment means to be a representation of your message. It means to have a visceral experience with your words, not just speaking words, but to have a visceral experience with your words. And so what you want to have is a clear identity in order to not be ignored. You want to have a clear identity, and you want to have a clear identity with yourself first and foremost. What are your values? What are your beliefs? And what are your skills? People buy from people who have similar values. So, do you value health? Do you value spending time with your kids, family, parents, significant others, partners of any kind? What is it you value? Because it's going to be really easy for you to purchase from somebody who also values health the same way you do, because that tells you something about that person. I've had people purchase from me just simply because I work out. That told them enough about me. They already knew about my business side. And so they valued what I valued, which was taking care of my body and also eating well. And so people are going to value what you value, the audience that you attract. You all value the exact same things. And so when you start to express that in your content, that is an attraction factor. Now, when it comes to your beliefs, maybe you have a spiritual belief. I personally believe in God. And so what that will do is it will attract some people to me, but it will also repel some people. And that's perfectly fine. Content is actually made to attract and repel. But if you don't know who you are and you don't know your values and your beliefs, then that means that you're going to try to speak to everyone and you're not attracting the right people, nor are you repelling the wrong people. Then you want to know, well, what are your skills? What skills do you have that solve a problem or help to get your person out of a certain situation, creates a transformation for them? It's really important for you to be very clear on this. If you're not clear on this, you're going to be creating content from your head instead of creating content from your heart. When you create content from your head, all of your fears come out, your limiting beliefs, your scarcity mindset, all of that's going to be infused into your content. But when you're actually creating content from the place of your heart, now you are coming from a place of service and you don't need anything from your audience. A lot of the times when you're creating content from your head, that means that that fear is coming through, that limiting belief is all coming through, and that means you need something from your audience. You need them to validate you. Whereas when you're creating from your heart, now you're here to service them, and that's something that they can feel. So it's really essential that you have a clear identity of who you are. And I find this so fascinating because many people can be very clear on what they do and who they serve. But they're not actually clear on who they are because they've had a lifetime of being a chameleon and blending in with so many people. And once you start blending in with so many people, when it comes time to creating content, now you don't have a clear identity. So you show up online with a little bit of this person, a little bit of this person, a little bit of this person, because what you've been doing has been chameleoning, being a chameleon. I don't know if that's even a word. You have been a chameleon. And so now that's what you're bringing to the table. You're essentially bringing to the table a fragmented pieces of yourself. And so the authenticity isn't coming through. Right now, everyone's saying, be authentic, be authentic. Well, it's interesting that that is genuinely a difficult thing for a lot of people because if there are parts of yourself that you don't love, parts of your identity that you haven't fully accepted and are okay with, then you're going to look to hold that back. And the audience can feel that you are holding something back. They're going to read your words or listen to your words, but what they're really picking up on is the spaces in between your words. That's what's filled with the energy of what you're holding back. And that's what's going to either build trust or dismantle trust before it even has a chance to be built. So it's really essential that you have a clear identity on who you are. Then you want to have a clear identity on your audience. You want to know what is the problems and situations that your audience is in right now that they desire to have a transformation. Because when you know what their desires are and where they want to go, and you know who you are and what you can solve for them, now you are able to speak directly to them in your content. And when you're speaking directly to a person, they cannot ignore you. Number two is you depend on external validation to feel good enough. I see this so much. This is when you measure your value based on the kind of engagement that you are getting. And so that means that you're going to be creating content from the energy of, I need to be liked. I need people to understand me. And this is where we get content all wrong. Content is not for you to be understood. Content is a place for you to demonstrate your understanding of your audience, of your ideal client. So this goes into either self versus service. When you need and depend on your content to give you validation, that means you need your audience to do something for you. You need them to like it. You need them to engage. You need them to buy from you. And that gives off that needy energy. And needy energy repels people. It's like dating. When you are interested in a person, the more clingy or needy you are, that person starts to back away. Well, your audience and your ideal clients are going to do the exact same things. They're going to start pulling away from you because they can feel that neediness. But when you genuinely know the value that you bring to the table, now you don't need anything from your audience. You're able to show up to give something to your audience. Because social media is not a platform for us to get something from. It's a platform for us to give something to. And people can feel if you want something from them. But when you're showing up from a place of, I know my value that I bring to the marketplace, then you can come on and demonstrate that value. And now your person is going to believe, your ideal audience, your ideal client is going to believe. So if you believe in your value first, then your audience is going to believe in your value also, because they can only believe to the degree in which you believe in yourself. You can't expect your audience to believe in you before you believe in you. So if you need that external validation, your clients can already feel that that's what you need from them and they're going to ignore you. So you've got to build the level of belief within yourself and then you can show up. How I recommend that you do this is that you write out all of the ways that you can already help people and all of the ways that you have helped people. When you give yourself a tangible frame where you can see the evidence. You can see all of the things that you've done and you've written it out. Now you've created this mind body connection and this emotional connection with the value. And that increases your internal belief and also increases your confidence. And so when you can see it, don't just think about it in your head. I challenge you, write down what you bring to the table. Write down the problems you solve, the solutions you bring to the table, and write down all the ways in which you've already helped a person or helped people or a group. And then you can see it. Now you can believe it. So then your audience can also believe it as well. All right. So the next thing that we are going to go into is your fear of judgment or rejection. This is a big one when it comes to creating content. If deep down you want your audience to accept you and understand you, you actually hold back from really pouring into your content. So even though you're spending a lot of time with your content, you're not spending a lot of time pouring into your content. You're actually spending a lot of time holding back in your content. And what you're holding back is all the parts of you that you haven't yet accepted, which goes back to the other one of needing or depending on external validation. But if you fear this rejection or you fear like you're not going to be accepted, then you're so busy trying to figure out, well, what parts of you need to hide. Energy is so magnetic. And whatever energy or vibe you are giving off is exactly what you are going to attract. So if you are holding back in your content, then the people that you do attract, if you're attracting anybody at all, are also going to be people who hold back, people who are hesitant. And then if they happen to make a purchase from you, then those are going to be the people that generally don't take any action or aren't taking fast enough action. And so now you have actually attracted the wrong people and you have probably repelled the right people, the ones that are actually best fit for what it is you offer. So you spend so much time in your content avoiding not being liked, avoiding not being rejected. And it's through that avoidance that you're actually avoiding being paid what you bring to the table. So we don't get paid our worth. Our worth is infinite, but we do get paid for the value that we bring to the table. So now you're actually holding yourself back from truly being paid what you could be paid because you are just holding it all in and expecting people to give you something before you've actually even shown up with levels of authenticity. The other one, the next one, is that you compare yourself to others. And this is a really big one because comparison is the thief of all joy. And if you think your ideas are not unique enough, or you think what you have to say has already been said, then you're going to hold back. And as you can see, all of these are intertwined, but they're all still a category of its own. And so you're going to hold back because you think, well, that person does it better. That person does it in a fancier way. That person is more unique. Listen, everyone has their own story. Nobody has your story, just like nobody has your fingerprints. And because nobody has your story, it means nobody has your insights, which means nobody can say what needs to be said in the way only you can say it. There are many people that are relationship coaches, they are lifestyle coaches, branding coaches, business coaches. They are all kinds of coaches. But every single person has a unique experience, which means they're going to attract different kinds of people. I always say, why are there so many brands of TVs? There's Sony, Samsung, there is Roku TV. There's so many different kinds of TVs. But how many TVs do we need to have? How many refrigerators do we need to have? Look at how many brands of refrigerators there are and stoves there are, brands of cars. Let's be real here. The purpose of a car is to get us from point A to point B. That's it. But there's so many different brands of cars there are really cheap cars, there are really expensive cars, and everything in between because each car speaks to people differently. People are looking for different features. Some people are going just for the status component as they are elevating their lifestyle. Then you have some people that are just more economical, simple. Maybe that's all they can afford. But there's different brands of cars. There's going to be different brands of coaches online, consultants online, creative service providers that only can speak to a certain group of people. You know, my mom used to always say, every bread has its cheese. And I'd be like, what? What does that even mean? But she was often talking about relationships. When people are in relationships, she's like, every bread has its cheese, you know? And so in this instance, every bread, which is you, has its own audience, has its cheese. And so there's only a certain group of people that you're really going to connect with, just like there's only a certain group of people that someone else is going to connect with, because there are many people doing the same thing, the similar thing, but there is a different approach. It's honestly like driving from here to the West Coast. I live in Tampa, Florida. It's like driving from here all the way to Cali. There are multiple ways that we can go. There's a short way, there's a long way, there's a scenic way. There's all kinds of ways that we can drive to the West. Just like there's all kinds of ways that we can probably get to someone's house that's 30 minutes away. The approach is going to be different because your experience is different. And so it is so essential for you to believe in the power of your story. And if you haven't seen my last video, how to profit from your story, I highly recommend that you check that out. I break that down into 4 steps for you to take in order to start making money from your story. And so you have to believe in the uniqueness of your story because there is a person that you follow right now that brings you so many amazing recipes. But there's a lot of people sharing recipes. But why do you like this one person? You like this one person because of their style, personality. There's something about them. I'm harping on this a lot because there's so much comparison that I'm seeing right now. And what that's doing is creating imposter syndrome, where you are essentially living in the gap. You are seeing everything that you think you aren't, but not realizing everything that you actually are. And this is so essential when it comes to creating content online and not being ignored, because what people are genuinely attracted to is conviction. They are attracted to belief. So even though there is a person that might be sharing on a similar topic, a similar subject in the same industry, does not mean that that person has a deep-seated belief, that conviction. And that is what really pulls people in where your content can't be ignored. I'm not talking about just being loud online. I'm not even talking about posting massive amounts of content all the time. I'm talking about posting content that is valuable, that has substance to it, that shifts the way people think, that gives someone a new perspective for them to see their particular problem. I'm talking about that kind of content. Not everybody can bring levels of belief and conviction to their content. Some people are talking, some people are speaking, and some people are speaking with conviction. And in order to not be ignored, you want to speak with conviction, which means that you have to be embodied in your message, which goes back to the first thing, which is lacking that embodiment. Once you start developing that, now you're going to start feeling like what you're doing is good enough and is more than good enough because you're going to recognize that only you can run your race. Only you are made to do what you can do. And that's it. There's literally no one else with that specific vantage point that you bring to the table. So no one has your story. You've got to be able to believe so much deeper in what you bring to the table. And when you shift these ways, then you shift the ways in which you are energetically showing up in your content because people are going to feel the things you say. They're not going to hear you. So It's no longer what someone reads. It's no longer what someone hears. Your content now becomes what someone feels. And that is how people will come by your content and not ignore you. I trust this video blesses you, and I will see you in the next one. Bye for now.